My name is Tom Gale. Welcome to this session. This is Content Sponsorship 101, online advertising. And I'm joined today by Donna Jefferson, CEO of Jefferson Communications, and Jim Sinkinson, publisher of Incom Group. How many people here have sponsored content in some form or another? Email? Web? Okay. So this session is near and dear to my heart because about 8 years ago, 95% of our revenues were subscription-based, and today it's about 37%. About another 36% is based on a number of different sponsored content platforms that we have: email, research, and web banners, a little bit of everything, and it's worked really well for us. So with that, I'm delighted to introduce Jim to go through. This is going to be interactive. There's enough people here. Las Vegas did its damage, obviously, last night on members of our group who aren't here bright and early this morning. But it's great to see you here. And with that, Jim.
So, hi, everybody. I address this topic with somewhat mixed emotions because it has been, unlike many other people who are at this event. I was just talking to Bob Brady about their operation, and for them, advertising and sponsorships are booming. For us, we are kind of on a downslope, but Donna's business is also thriving. So we're hoping that we can recover our former glory days, but I'm going to show you the kind of the range of things that we have done. We're primarily like Tom's business. We're primarily a paid content business and have been since we started the business in 1980. We do about 80 webinars a year, paid webinars. We do books and special reports, subscription products, mostly online e-newsletters. We have an online media directory, a daily online e-newsletter. And about 7 years ago, we started a daily online trade journal. And at the time, our competitors were print publications, and we're in the public relations space, so PR Week was a weekly magazine that came out, very well advertising supported. And we were, and a large staff, both of advertising salespeople, but editorial staff. And it was kind of the trade journal for our industry. We were able to come in and start an online trade journal, a daily publication at a fraction of the cost that they were able to publish. And the big advantage we had was that we were being direct response oriented. We were able to deliver immediate response to our advertisers' offerings. At that time, 7 years ago or so, most advertising in our realm was institutional advertising or image advertising. There was not a call to action. And so we trained these guys, talked to them about lead generation, what that was like. Many of them had never had a solid flow of leads coming in, so we talked to them about branded intellectual property, webinars, white papers, tip sheets, those kinds of things, to teach them what would be possible. And we also encouraged them to, once they had developed a white paper or a tip sheet or a free webinar, to test their advertising in the print publication versus our publication. Well, of course, in a print, there's really no competition because in a print publication, somebody has to pick up dial an 800 number to get the white paper or whatever it might be, whereas in our publication, not only does it come out that very day, but by the end of the day, you have 50, 60, 100 responses, and all the prospects had to do was just click on a link and fill out a form. So this publication took off like a shot, was very successful. The brand that at Infocom Group is Bulldog Reporter. Many of you have heard me speak about it, and the name of the publication that we came out with was The Daily Dog. So we sell advertising. It's a controlled circulation publication. We mailed it to our entire daily, now 6 times a week, to our entire file of about 70,000 names. We also have a full-time person who does nothing but list research just to make sure that our list stays up at about that base of 70,000. And these are some examples of some of the ad units that we offered. We have a horizontal banner that goes at the top of the email that we send out every day, and then also at the top of the website. If you click through to an article, you'll go to the website. Square banner, more or less square, off to the side, and I believe that's an interstitial, which comes up between screens. If you click on an article before you go to the website, you get an advertising message. So banner advertising. And then we also did, I don't know if you call this native advertising. Somebody mentioned it yesterday in one of our sessions, and I actually looked up native advertising to make sure I understood what it is. And some people say it's just a cheap way of saying advertorial, or a fancy way of saying advertorial. And but the whole idea is our format is a single column news item teasers. So news item teaser, news item teaser, news item teaser, and then we have what we would call an inline text ad, which would be something like this. And these were, you could call it a blog, you could call it a column, what have you. They would appear, the client buys this space, their logo goes on it, photo of the author of the message, and that appears for 1 week. It starts at the top of the email and it drifts down over the week and ends up at the bottom of it. It appears at the same place. It has a department on the website. So the measurement minute is something in the nav bar that you can always click on and see her series of articles. And then we had another one, media placement ops from the North American Précis Syndicate. And those are great ad units. People like them a lot because their picture is in them. It's personal. It's like a blog. It is thought leadership. There's also usually a message that has a direct response, the opportunity for somebody to click on it and get something, some kind of intellectual property. And we like it because it's a 1-year contract. In the advertising business in general, long-term contracts have become not just in the specialized information industry, but also in the advertising world. Long-term contracts have become more rare as time has passed. People are on a much shorter budget cycle. They'll buy for 3 months, they'll buy for 6 months, they'll buy 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and it's increasingly rare, at least it has been in our world, to see 1-year contracts.
Is the content, I can see it says read more, is the content on your site, or is the content, if you click on the read more, it goes off to your...
No, it all is on our site. Yeah, we distribute it completely. They, of course, can post it on their site, but I don't think either of these people did. They would be free to do it or run it as a blog. I think one of them, the Measurement Minute woman, may have posted it as a blog, or this was an extension of her blog. She would write the blog and then post it as an article here. So advertorials. We also sell advertising by way of dedicated market intelligence emails. Market intelligence is our branded description for a dedicated email. It's an email that goes out to our entire file of the 70,000 names. It has the client 19 times out of 20, they will actually create the art, and we take that banner, the Daily Dog Market Intelligence email, and lay that on top of it. It goes out from Bulldog Reporter's Daily Dog. So of course, it's our list. It comes from us. And one of the most successful, interesting, you start selling advertising, but one of the most profitable areas for us has turned out to be online graduate programs. These schools have to generate prospective students, and most of them have direct response departments, either outside ad agencies or marketing departments within the schools, and they know that marketing is a big part of what they have to do, and there aren't that many places where there aren't that many options for them to advertise this kind of a product. So we have become probably the preeminent advertising medium for online graduate programs in communications. 70,000 distribution. We also have done sponsored research. For example, we have done research on journalists' practices with regard to the relationship with public relations people. We've also done research about industry practices. You could call it best practices, but measurement is a big thing in the communications area, so we would send out to our 70,000 list a Survey Monkey type of survey, 30 questions or so, bring those results in, create an executive summary of it, offer the executive summary as a download, as a white paper in essence. We would also obviously promote it through our market intelligence emails, and we would create a webinar and promote the webinar, and in some cases recruit people to be on the webinar with the sponsor, and then everybody who attends the webinar, of course, receives a copy of the executive summary as well. So this is a thought leadership play, as we call it, and that's a term that resonates very strongly in our marketplace. It's a public relations type of term, and so our clients tend to like these kinds of things. We would charge about $15,000 for this service. After a fashion, we got pushback on that pricing, but most of them had been about at that range. The problem with these in terms of charging for them is they do involve a lot of work. Developing the survey, the client wants to be involved in the survey, so you got to go back and forth with them on that. Then you have to create the executive summary. It has to be written. Client has to approve it, back and forth on that. Then it has to be produced. From an art standpoint, you can do a quick and dirty executive summary. It's just all text. Or you can start getting into bar graphs and pie charts and everything, and really not only bar graphs and pie charts, but creative layout of these things. And it can get expensive to produce them. And then, of course, you got your webinar. If it's just the client on the webinar, that's one thing. If I've got a journalist on the webinar, I've got to recruit the journalist, I've got to herd the journalist. If you've got a client type of on the webinar, that's more work. So they can be a substantial amount of work, worth every penny of the $15,000. We do not publish a price list. We get anybody who calls and wants a price list, we are immediately suspect of, because people do not know. I once went to a Folio, is the big magazine and organization around, or at least used to be, around magazine publishing and magazine advertising sales. And I once listened to a presentation by a veteran ad sales guy, and he basically said, he called on Architectural Digest and publications like that, and he would call on media buyers at ad agencies and at clients. And his contention was, after doing this for 30 years, media buyers have no idea what they're buying, okay? So if a professional media buyer in an ad agency doesn't know what she's buying, believe me, the people in my marketplace and probably in yours have much less idea what they're buying. So if somebody comes and asks you for a price list, you immediately know they know less than nothing about buying advertising. We don't have a published price. We always talk to people about what do you want to accomplish. Sometimes they know, sometimes they don't know. How you can shop for something when you don't know what you want, what you're trying to accomplish. It's like somebody walking into a shoe store and saying, I want some shoes, and they go, what kind of shoes do you want? Well, I don't know, something to cover my feet, and that's kind of the level that you're often dealing with. So we don't have a published price list. It's all proposal driven. I can give you some examples of a one-week flight, top horizontal banner. I showed you an example of that. It's about $12.50. Dedicated email, I think our list price on that is $4,200, but the price comes in usually at about $3,000, $3,500. You don't want to sell a single, and that's the point. The list price is $4,200, which we don't publish. We don't have a price list, but $4,200. But you don't want to sell somebody a single dedicated email. You want to sell them a program. What are you trying to accomplish? And so you want to look at a sale that's larger, and then you can discount each of the units below the $1,250, below the $3,500, and come up with a proposal that's, most of our proposals come in around $7,500 to $1,250, $12,500, something like that. In our marketplace, we've had a lot of consolidation. I think it was Wayne Cooper yesterday afternoon mentioned in his marketplace that a lot of advertisers have taken to doing it themselves. It's not that hard to get a list, or they don't have a 70,000 list, but they maybe have 20,000, and they just start putting out their own emails. Again, they don't know that we have a much higher readership, much more likelihood of somebody opening one of our emails than their emails. They don't know that. They have no metrics. They do their own direct mail. Sometimes they get an agency or they hire a copywriter. So there's been, and our marketplace has been plagued by a lot of competition. Nobody does PR Week is now a monthly publication. Still called PR Week, interestingly, but they have a daily online publication. Reagan Communications has several publications. PR News, also a member, Access Communications, sells advertising. So we have a lot of competition in our marketplace and a shrinking market. It's a sad tale. Yes, there's been an increase in pay-per-lead pricing. And a lot of our competitors have gone out there, and I did a proposal for a company that I had worked with a lot, and to do some advertising promote demos of their service. And a week later, I see it coming out in a the same offer that I had proposed and built out for them, coming out from PR Week. And I wrote a very annoyed email to my client, and he said, well, they said they would generate 100 leads for us for X number of dollars, and that's what we're going to do. So PR Week is just going to keep pumping that thing out until they generate 100 demos for these guys. And they've probably done 12 or something dedicated emails, and I don't know what the client paid. Let's say they paid $5,000. I mean, that's reducing the cost of that advertising down very, very low. It takes the risk away from the advertiser, and it puts all the risk on the publisher. We don't like those kinds of deals. When somebody wants to do a pay per, if I'm giving away $5 bills, I'm going to get a whole lot of response. If I'm giving away a half-hour demo on some software, I don't know how many, and what is the software for? How many people are going to do that? 10? 20? So what do I charge? Do I charge the client $150 per lead. Most of them won't do it, so the whole pay-per-lead thing is fraught because it all depends on the offer. Beware of it. And we do provide for banner and email advertisers, they receive contact information for click-throughs. We're able to download everybody who clicked. So they get not only the people who sign up for the webinar or the white paper, but also we give them the names of everybody who clicks, which helps them to build their list. And yet it's not in such volume that they can that it will substitute for advertising. So I mentioned consolidation in the industry, more sophisticated advertisers doing it themselves, highly competitive environment drives prices lower. And we used to have a dedicated advertising sales team. It was really me and an ad sales manager. And with the consolidation in our industry, we've moved all of our ad sales over to our content, inside sales content people. So all of our salespeople do sell everything, both content and advertising. In my experience, advertising sales is not, especially with a fairly unsophisticated group, is not that complicated. And so that's really the end of mine. And do we have Donna's queued up? Oh, good.
Let me just load Donna's here, and yeah. Here we go. There we go. There you go.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for coming. I didn't think anybody would be here. It's like 2 days in Vegas, Friday the 13th, early in the morning. So thanks for showing up. We have a company that started out as a monthly parenting magazine for the Annapolis, Maryland area. We pretty much cover the area between Washington and Baltimore. It's kind of an egg-shaped area. That's been 23 years ago, and since then we have 2 websites. We have a lot of e-newsletters, we have directory listings, we have events, we have a digital magazine. If we could figure out how to do it, we probably did it. And we've also made a lot of mistakes along the way. So that's why I come to SIPA, so I can learn not to make as many mistakes. Right now, digital makes up about 25% of our revenue, and these are just some of the things that we pretty much sell whatever we can within reason. But we have the 2 websites with the traditional banner and tower ads. We have directories. We have sponsorships on the directories, calendar sponsorships, blog sponsorships, contests. We have some native advertising, e-newsletter, and the digital magazine. And it's usually every month it's about 115, 120 ads. just online. And this is all our revenue. We have no paid subscriptions, so that's why we're such trolls for ads, because we need the money. And here's our website, which I realize looks really bad with all these arrows on it. But it just, the banner ad, we have a video that somebody could sponsor and put the video there. There are 2 different places. We have directory links, the ads. And we do, as Jim said, the more you can get people to do an ad that is interactive, that somebody actually responds, the better. There's one of those mega churches near us that do this living Christmas tree thing. I went one time and I almost burst out laughing because it looks like these bobblehead people inside this big cutout Christmas tree. But they put a web ad on, but they didn't have any place for it to click to. So people, if they wanted tickets, had to call. Their phones were ringing off the hook. It was the best thing that could have happened to us because they realized how much traffic they were getting from that one web ad. So for the last 4 years, they've been, just for this, they give us about $1,000 over a 2-week period just to help promote their bobblehead Christmas tree singing. So yeah, we do limit what we do. We're not really giant trolls. So we want everybody to we guarantee 20,000 impressions every month. And right now we figure we can get through about 5 rotating, for each spot we can get through 5 in a month to make sure that they have that. Some months we do better, but we do guarantee impressions for our run-of-site ads. These are our directories, and I've talked about directories some before. We make a lot of money off of directories, and it's a pretty easy sell. Everybody gets a free listing if they want, and then what we do is we add on top of that depending on how much more they pay. So they can put in a video, their logo. We can even put, for a school, we could put their application in there, links to all their social media. Pretty much if we can figure out how to do it, we'll do it. Instagram, YouTube. We do for the county and the city parks and rec, every quarter they do an annual brochure, a quarterly brochure. So every quarter we update that for them and put their new brochure in there. So if somebody comes, they can take a look at that brochure. And that's working pretty well for them. We send these stats to the advertiser every quarter. So they get to see how many people have actually come and looked at it and then clicked through. And then we sell sponsorships to the directories. Each directory gets less traffic than the website as a whole, but these are people who are coming to look specifically for that type of service. So we've priced these sponsorships pretty high. And we actually had a waiting list to get on some of them, so we bumped the price up a little bit to reduce the waiting list and to make more money. We have a calendar that gets a ton of traffic. That's probably the single most traffic thing on our website, and we sell a sponsorship to that too. And again, we have people vie for this spot, so we up the price on it. And we also have a lot of different blogs, and we'll have seasonal blogs, and you guys will laugh, but we have like fairs and festivals and pumpkin patches and different things for people to go do in the wintertime. We'll summarize all the nutcracker, because we're about an hour from DC and an hour from Baltimore, so there's a ton of nutcrackers, and we just make a big list of all the nutcrackers, and somebody will want to sponsor the nutcracker list. So we get sponsors for all these different blogs too. The fairs and festivals and the pumpkin patches and this Christmas seasonal one are the ones that are most popular. Popular with our readers too. We also have contests that we get sponsors for, and we put this sponsorship online. Right now we're doing a pet photo contest, and people vote on their favorite pet picture. So we had a resort sponsor it, and then we have a photographer that's also going to take pictures for us, and they sponsored it. And then we have, these are called advertorial, native, whatever. We do 3 a month. Advertisers, usually they want to write, and they send us something, and then we rewrite the first part of it so that it's optimized for search. We put a link in there for them. If they want a picture, we put pictures in there. I think I have another sample in here. This is working pretty well for most people. We don't charge a lot because we're still working through what we want to do with these, but we will do 3 a month. So here's another example of, this is Tommy Lee, who has his own karate place. It's a huge, big deal, and he really likes Tommy Lee. So he wants his picture and a video, and he likes to write this stuff. So, and he likes to get the message out, so we are very accommodating and said, okay.
I know that you need to mark it as sponsored content or be very careful about. So how are you doing that? It's hard to read.
At the very bottom, they're listed on our home page at the very bottom, and it actually says sponsored there. And then in the first line, actually at the very top, it says sponsored by. So it's pretty clear. And then we have our e-newsletters that we get advertisers for. And I think just like everybody else, we'll do a sponsored blast that's just for one advertiser. We will put, we're getting close to being, we are at our max in the family one, which tells me we need to raise our prices a little bit more. We do a digital magazine. It's usually we do it every week. It's got about 24 pages. It focuses on the stuff in the areas. Yes?
What is the platform you use to put together your digital magazine?
Right now we're using Uberflip. The problem with Uberflip, it's supposed to be responsive. Really, it's not. It looks great on a tablet, but when you look at it on your computer screen, it's not so great, and then you want to blow it up, and when you blow it up, the videos and the photo slideshows don't work anymore, so it's kind of like, what's the point?
And is it printable as a PDF?
Yes, right from there, yeah. We just switched to another system, magazine manager, that's supposed to have a digital studio. We haven't tried it yet, but that's our next. And they actually have a store where people can download them. So this is something we're still working on. We just started this in April, and through a lot of trial and error, we realized it's a completely different format than print. The layout is different. The type size is even different. Of course, everything has to be optimized in the back end. We only do full-page ads. We realized that anything smaller than a full page wasn't going to work. And most of them we really encourage people to use some kind of interactivity in their ad. Otherwise, it's no different than a print ad. And we're getting there. Most of them at least have a picture slideshow. We've had some videos. We can generate leads for them. We can go to a form for them. We can do all kinds of things. But it's a matter of educating our advertisers to get them to take advantage of all this, which I think, to me, that's a big hurdle that we need to overcome. But it's pretty cool. No matter what, it's pretty cool. These are 2 examples of the full-page ads. The Spouses Cleaning Houses will actually go right to their website, and people can sign up for their e-newsletter, so he knows whether it's working or not. The school ad is just a photo slideshow. There is another school that does a little bit better job. They will actually have people sign up for an open house. As I say, we're still working on these. Our pricing strategies, and this is a place we've made a lot of mistakes on this. We started with monthly by just doing it by the month, and we sold out of our ad spaces. And once we got to serve enough impressions, we went to impression, because then you can stagger the ads. And the advertisers have realized that that's to their advantage, to stagger the ads. so that if maybe they have an event on the 15th, well, they don't want it to start on the 15th of the month before, or the 1st of the month before, so we just move it to the 15th and we serve it up for them. So it's to our benefit and theirs. Other things, sponsorships, we kind of do what the market will bear. We guess when we first roll it out, and then if we have people lined up for it and a waiting list, then we bump the price up. And there are some things that people want to be, they just have to have that space because that makes them look good. And so we charge them extra for that. And our challenge is finding good salespeople, and I've heard that here. It's a big challenge for everybody. Some of our stuff, we've tried having dedicated telemarketers in-house, and that has worked pretty well if you get the right people. Because the directories, generally we just sell it on a year-long basis, and so over the course of a month, that might only be $100 a month. So that's a pretty easy sell over the phone. And it's very specific, so that person doesn't need tons and tons of training. We just give them our list, and they just go down the list and call it. And depending on the time of the year, our camp season is coming up, so we have all the camps. And they can just go down a list of camps and call. So the price point is another, whenever we introduce something new, it's like, well, you don't want to be too high, but you don't want to be too low. And it's hard to raise the price if you go in way too low. It's really hard. It takes, in some cases, it's taken us like 2 or 3 years to get up to where it should have been. And then getting the advertisers to embrace all the new possibilities. So, and that's me. If anybody wants to call or email. Are there questions?
Thank you, Donna.
Sure.
I do want to open up for questions, but I was just jotting a few notes while both Jim and Donna were outlining their programs, and I'm curious what we've found in the last 5 years ago. 5 years ago, it was pretty easy to get advertisers to commit to an annual program. Today, it's much more volatile across banners, email, webcasts even. We have a minimum quarterly program, and we do a silver, gold, platinum program, and we really try to tier as much as possible. But where it seems like both media buyers and within marketing directors within the technology companies that we primarily target, it seems like their definition of long-term planning is what they're going to do after lunch. So it's very difficult to get commitments, and I'm just interested in anybody's experience with that.
Yeah, we have had some of that. But what we've also done too, and this has surprised us, is we'll go back and we'll say, hey, we realize that you have this 6 months plan, or even if it's a year-long plan, but we have some spots open in the e-newsletter or a banner that we think would do really well for you, and we know you have something coming up. Are you interested? And they do it. So they change their minds, even though they have this big plan. We just have to ask them.
I think they usually don't have a plan, no matter what they say. But on the other hand, they are loath to make a longer-term commitment. We live in fast-paced times. Things do change, and so we're open to turning on a dime as well with our marketing programs. If we discover something that we think is going to work, we'll make a right turn and do something else. So I think that's a lot of what we're dealing with, is just that reluctance to plan long term.
Yeah, and I think just because they said no once doesn't mean they're going to say no the next time. It's especially lately, it seemed like that we found that. Yes?
Do you also not post your prices, flat prices, or do you have
We have some posted, and I actually, last week, we had a couple of, they weren't even snowstorms, they were like little flakes on the ground. But I was the only one in the office, so I was answering the phone, and there were surprisingly a lot of people calling in to ask about, and they just say, well, what are your ad rates? And it's the same thing that Jim said is, well, we have ads in the back. We have like a marketplace section in print. They're only $75. So you tell me what you want to do and what you want to spend. And that's why we will send somebody. We do have a rate card. We're really reluctant to do that without talking to them first because there's so many opportunities. And especially if they haven't advertised before.
So do you think by post our rates on our site, do you think that's stopping people from following these as it is?
Yeah, well, maybe, but ours are so complex now. I mean, do you have a lot of stuff or just a little?
Not too much. Got sponsorships and directory for our directors.
I think if you have them up there, and we do this too on the stuff that we have up there, we say, please call us so we can give you a bundle that's more price effective.
We actually, we have a button on our site where you can click and it says advertise. It takes you to a page. We do have a PDF. We actually have a media kit that we use, and buried somewhere in the back there is a pricing matrix essentially that's, I mean, it's more complex than GDP calculations, I think, but it at least gives people sort of a range of what we do. That the primary purpose of that is, and Jim touched on this, is that there is more and more competition, not only the trade pubs, but we're finding our advertisers are allocating dollars into live events and sponsoring live events, whether sponsored by an association or their own, or sometimes there's a consortium, whatever. So for us, our whole education messaging is all about differentiation. We're all about quality, not quantity. And particularly for our webinars, we're very careful about sort of documenting what their cost per lead is. And typically, our audience tends to be the higher C-level type people in our industry. Our cost per lead will be anywhere from $40 to $100, depending on the attendance and the list, the registration list for the webinars. But they're delighted with that because of the quality of the lead. So that's really what's kept that business for us alive.
Well, I have a question. Well, how much do you guys send out as far as analytics and showing people how their ad has done? Daily, monthly? Anybody? Monthly? Yeah, we do. We have some people, we can do daily, and we have a couple people who want daily, but, and what do you send?
We used to do a fairly elaborate, pretty pictures, but kept it to one page. Now we just do a pretty basic chart. It has the actual ad unit, but then a chart in terms of clicks and what the traffic and click-throughs, impressions, click-throughs. I mean, it's pretty basic. We just made it easy, and frankly, we keep talking about, do people really even look at it? I mean, we have occasionally you get one person, but most people, even if they do look at it, most of them have no clue about what it means. So it's just, we spend so much time with education about programs because so many people come, they'll want to buy a banner, they'll point to their home page, and then at the end of the month or the end of the program, they'll come back and, well, why didn't I get more, traffic and leads out of this? Well, it's because you don't have an offer, you don't have the right pieces in place to really start generating a relationship. So, I mean, that's been critical for us to kind of keep the ongoing ad relationships and
we as part of our advertising sales program, we used to do a weekly. We called it an ad sales blog. It was basically a letter from our ad salesperson, and it basically tried to explain some of the reality of direct response advertising in particular, or the whole idea of branded intellectual property, lead generation, and what is advertising and what are realistic expectations for it. And, it kind of seemed to help a little bit, but these are busy people. They don't specialize in advertising. They have very little background in it. Many people who we deal with who are in the marketing capacity really don't have much training in marketing. They may have come from a completely other aspect of the business. They could be engineers, they could be salespeople, and so it's a challenge dealing with an unsophisticated advertising marketplace.
Does anybody else do newsletters or blogs or something for your advertisers or sponsors? Yeah, we've tried that too and sent emails to them, and I keep track of the response and the open rates. And whenever it was an education thing, the open rate was like 15%. But if it was something else, it was 40%. So obviously they didn't care about learning about their ad. So I still do them once in a while.
And you made an offer that you've asked them to have ads that are interactive. I hadn't thought about that, but that seems like a fantastic idea. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
About interactive ads? Sure. And again, this is trying to talk to the advertiser to figure out what they want. If it's just, there's some competition among schools, which is great for us. And they want to show how beautiful, and it just happens that two of these schools are right on the Chesapeake Bay. So they both have beautiful campuses. So it's a real battle who has the prettiest pictures. And so they were both running these photo slideshows for a while. And finally, when I told one of them, I said, you guys are both doing the same thing. Your ads look both the same. People probably can't even tell the difference between one or the other. So why don't you do something different? So she actually started to, and they have this particular school has a great website, and it's a school that goes from like pre-K 3 up through high school, and she had on their website different sections for each section of the school with some great information that was written by parents, not parents, but by teachers. So I suggested, who are you trying to get in? Because they have an open house coming up in January. I said, who are you trying to get in? And she said, we want the preschoolers this time. I said, then let's focus the ad on the preschoolers. And you can put your pretty pictures in. And this is for our e-zines, which has more space in it. I said, but how about start off with a couple lines of text about something that preschool parents are really worried about. And then lead in to let people go look at your website at that page that has this information. And then on there, put in a registration for your open house. And it's the same school. And because they go through 12th grade, I know another thing there. My kids went to this school too. And she's like my go-to person to experiment with. But there's a big deal, especially among private schools, about where the kids go to college. And none of the schools want to say this kid went to this school, but they will give you a list of all the schools that they had acceptances to. So tell people where the kids were accepted. That's all you have to do. And then again, put a box in there so that people can contact you for information or sign up for another open house or visit for a tour or talk to another student. And they did that. I mean, it took them 18 months to finally decide that they were going to put this list. It was on their website anyway. But I mean, I guess the whole point is you got to figure out where, the pain, and I've heard that a lot. It's like, what are you trying to do? Where's the thing what's bothering you the most? And then let's figure out how we can get people to take advantage of what you have to offer. But she's a pretty good marketing director. It's pretty easy to work with. But it's like the karate guy. He really wanted to push his birthday parties. There's not a thing about birthday parties on his entire website, and you can't just throw up a birthday party ad and think, especially on a website, and people are going to call you up. So again, it was working with the advertiser to try to figure out what can we do. And in the long run, he finally built a landing page and put some videos on the landing page that showed what great birthday parties he had. And then he had an offer for birthday parties. But that's the kind of things that we do. Some, like a camp, might put an application for their summer camp because it's not as big a deal. You know, you don't go and necessarily visit the day camp before you send your kids. It might be word of mouth. And so we'll actually have an application form for them, right? Click through the ad. We have had animated ads. We try to discourage those. Well, if you get two on the same page, it's just overpowering and nobody wants to stay on your webpage for long. So we really try to discourage those. But there hasn't been anything that somebody's asked us to do, we haven't been able to figure out how to do it. And most of the time it's the other way around. We know what we can do. We have to talk to them and figure out what they can do on their end.
I was just going to add, you bring up a really good point. A big part of selling advertising in our markets will be helping these people decide what it is they should advertise. And even the more sophisticated advertisers, oh, we want to do something different this year. Well, what do you want to do? Well, we don't know. What ideas do you have? So you can spend time and creative energy trying to come up with great ideas for them, some of which they buy and most of which they don't buy for no good reason. I mean, just they don't know what they want, but they'll know it. They know it if they'll see it. One of the frustrations I've faced is, they want to do something new and different, really just for the sake of doing something new and different. It's not that the other things don't work. It's that they just want to distinguish themselves in the marketplace and do something bright and shiny. And so that becomes your job, Greg.
That sounds like an opportunity for you. You can put together an email newsletter to all your potential advertisers about ideas for advertising and tips and tricks and things that can be done right and wrong. And then they might then advertise more with you because they're getting that.
Yeah, except that's true, and that's a good idea actually. But anything to stimulate them, and even if they're not thinking of advertising, if they see an idea, they might say, "Oh, let's do something like that." Generally, though, what they want is something that nobody else has thought of. Nobody else is doing. It's really unique, which, by the way, could be a total bomb. I mean, the reason people aren't doing it is because it might not work. Chances are. Anyway.
Let's wrap it up with that. And Donna, Jim, thank you so much for sharing your insight, and thank you for attending today.